Hi, guys. This is Ohio nursing home abuse lawyer Will Eadie, and I'm coming on to talk today a little bit about your rights as a nursing home resident or loved one advocate sponsor of a nursing home. And the reason I think this is so important is I get these calls where people, a loved one has a bed sore that they didn't know about, they weren't alerted to, or has injuries that are unexplained, that they want to be involved in making sure that an injury that occurred once doesn't happen again. And some nursing homes that are less scrupulous will mislead people intentionally or unintentionally into thinking that they can't do those things. So for example, I had somebody I talked with the other day who said bad bed sores, stage 4, they were never told about them. They only learned about them when the loved one goes to a hospital because of mental status changes, because they had a urinary tract infection, which shouldn't be happening either. And they wanted to take photographs of the wounds, and they're told, well, you're not allowed to do that. We have to talk to a manager. And they were basically prevented from getting what is really important evidence, both medically and legally, in terms of how bad these sores were. And it's really hard to understand if you haven't dealt with that kind of thing. If a juror, for example, isn't in the medical field, how bad those stage 4 bed sores can be. Now, it wasn't the family's fault. Of course, they didn't know better. And they looked to this nursing home as an expert. They looked to these folks as experts. And I hear those kind of stories over and over again. Well, we kept asking when this was going to happen. We kept asking for a meeting, and they just said they were taking care of it. They were taking care of it. And no one ever said, you have a right to be involved in the care planning. You have the right to be involved in care planning meetings. So in fact, you do have those rights. And federal regulations set forth resident rights that are very specific and broad, which is great. And some states, Ohio is one of them, have similar rules or rights for residents that are in state law. So Ohio actually has a law that gives nursing home resident rights. And the reason these things were created is because if you go back to the 80s, there was scandal about how bad some of the care was in nursing homes. And so a lot of laws and regulations were passed, which were great, still rely on those in litigation today. There have been some changes recently for the better, but the situation, history repeats itself. The situation in nursing homes is getting worse. We know there's understaffing. We know there's bad care. And so we need to dust off these rights and make sure as family members that you inform yourself. So what I'm going to do is put in the first comment a link to the federal regulations, a link to the Ohio state law on resident rights. I have an article that I wrote about some of the recent changes in the regulations. It may be a little nerdy and legal, but if you're interested in that, and just take a minute and read through them. There's 30 some paragraphs. It seems long, but you'd be surprised what lawmakers thought about and tried to make sure that they provided for during this time usually in the 80s, depending on the state, when people were really tuned into this issue. And so residents have the right to be visited. So you can't be precluded from, if you're a sponsor of somebody, from visiting unless there's some safety reason for you not to be there. You can't be precluded from seeing someone observing therapy sessions. You can't. One I get a lot is they force the family to leave when they're changing or cleaning a loved one, even when, as is all too often the case, the family's forced to do a fair amount of the changing and cleaning themselves anyways due to understaffing. And it turns out, why were they doing that? Well, they didn't want the family to see that there was a giant infected, smelly bed sore, which of course ended up killing the person. And had the family been alerted, as they had the right to be alerted to earlier, that death may have been prevented. So it's never the family's fault. It's never your fault if you aren't aware of this and you're misled by the nursing home that you put your trust in, and you should be able to put your trust in. And I got to tell you, most of the nursing home professionals I deal with, nurses and aides, they really want to do the best. So sometimes they're not even aware of what's right. And it's the corporate parent's job, it's the entity facility level's job to make sure their staff's trained on these rights as well. In fact, in Ohio, it's required that they give you a copy of these rights. You may not know that even happened because you get a stack of papers this thick to sign, including, by the way, arbitration agreements. Do not sign those. You do not have to sign those. They're a bad idea for everybody. But in any event, It's the nursing home's job to make sure their staff's aware of what those rights are, and the nurses and aides may just be doing what they were taught, as improper as that is. So know your rights. If you work in a nursing home, share those rights with people, respect those rights, and I encourage all of you to share your experience, share your insights with your nursing home professional, caregiver of some other sort, loved one, or resident. Leave a comment, share your insights with others who might have these questions, and I'll try to answer any questions you give. Of course, don't provide any confidential legal information because that won't remain confidential if you post it, but you can reach out to us if you're in Ohio or another nursing home lawyer in a different state. Happy to help refer you to them. So this is Ohio nursing home abuse lawyer Will Eadie, hoping everyone stays healthy and happy in a nursing home. If you want to check out some of the other healthy in a nursing home videos or have suggestions, let us know and click that hashtag healthy in a nursing home. You'll see all the videos we've done so far, and we hope they help. Thanks so much.